There's an X over it.
Yes, the two little microphone symbols at the bottom of the screen.
Ah,
There are lines
That
that are
I did this
not
last week
active.
too. That's all right.
That's all right.
Welcome to
We're not gonna
episode
hold it.
33.
Yeah,
For those that
episode
are in the
30.
chat and watching online that didn't get to hear, that is Mark Square. I am Grey Ghost.
Hi.
Yuna Lala is there. I'm going to cut all of
Hi.
this out of the iTunes version. And Mark had just asked us a question. It
Yeah.
was if you could choose
Yeah.
one sport that had to be turned into a drinking game for the professional athletes, what sport would you pick? And Grey Ghost had just said Olympic curling. I would love to see Olympic curling turned into a drinking game.
Yeah, there's a lot, there's ice. They're on ice.
Yeah.
Drunks on Ice is kind of like a fun ice skating event that I would go to.
drunks on ice. Many bruised tailbones going on there. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, my ass.
Well, and they're
Probably
so
miss-
intense about it too that just imagine
Yeah.
their depth perception goes away and
Yeah.
they end up just kind of like playing it how we play shuffleboard. You throw it as hard as you can and try to just smash all the curling stones out of the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Mhm.
agree.
Yep.
So what about you? What professional sport would you like to see the athletes have to drink under certain conditions?
Ooh, okay, so I have it down to two. Can I say two?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
The first
oh,
one would
just
be
right.
rhythmic gymnastics.
Oh,
Whoa.
that would be cool.
Come on, rhythmic
I mean,
gymnastics.
they're already like dancing around already. Can you imagine if they're wasted? And they're just like,
Wait, I thought rhythmic gymnastics was just like
no,
slang for
it's
sex.
that. No, it is an Olympic sport.
Yep.
It is?
They have like
It
a
is,
ribbon
absolutely.
that they dance around with.
They have the
That's what
ribbon,
the
they have the
ribbon's for?
ball. Oh
that
my
ri-
God. Yeah.
that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay,
It's a
rhythmic
sport.
gymnastics while drunk. I'm
What would you
into it.
pick, Mr. Square? What's your
Well-
drunken sport?
Yuna has two. She wanted to do
Mhm.
two.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And high diving.
Oh, that doesn't sound safe at all.
Oh,
And belly flops galore.
yes. So
I
that's
know,
what I was
it's
gonna
so
say.
mean. I'm like, ooh, get drunk and jump.
I
Oh,
would probably
so-
watch it more, I guess. than I do
Yes.
now.
Yes, yeah. What's gonna be great too is the divers are gonna think they're doing really well. They're gonna go like, wasn't that a smooth entry into the water? No, you belly flop, dude. You belly flop. Look at your
Yeah,
front.
Dude,
exactly.
feel it.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
Yeah. They come out of the water all triumphant after a big belly
Yeah.
flop. I did one time as a child. I did a belly flop off of the high dive, and I mean not on purpose. Like I got halfway down and realized you're not supposed to dive. You have to go feet first. So I
Yeah.
changed my mind midair, and I'm like, well, nope, I'm gonna go back and obey the rules midair.
I'm too scared to
It's-
do that.
Oh, it hurts.
Oh man,
so
I would. I'm not like super afraid of heights, but just that, I would have been like, nope.
No, well, I was
There would
like
have to be large sums of money involved.
Yeah, I think it's pretty rare
rare
that a belly flop does not result in some sort of enjoyment in my life. Unless it's me that's actually doing the belly flop. Any other scenario,
Cool.
it brings me some joy in my life.
Oh wow, Chris in the chat, you've actually struck exactly what I was gonna say. Tennis is what I would pick as the drunken sport because because this is why. All right, so like I thought about basketball, I thought about football, but I'm like, no, people will actually destroy themselves. Like I don't want to see people get hurt. That's why curling is a good answer.
Yeah.
Ice skating is actually a really terrifying answer because
Right,
people might
blades.
lose fingers. Yeah, that's
Right.
kind of a terrifying one. But tennis, they're just gonna get like it's just gonna go wild all the time. I would also choose ping pong. I don't know if that's professional or not, but that would be
Yeah.
a great one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or
no,
racquetball.
Ping pong I would consider professional.
Yeah, anything where you're hitting balls with paddles, I think would be great to watch.
That's your jam. I see.
Yeah.
Well, we would
TMI,
like to-
Mark, TMI.
Oh.
We would like to
I like that.
welcome everybody that's in the chat for our live recording. We do this every Wednesday night at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central Time. Chris 3711, Electric Skateboard, Zupatron 3000. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us. We're gonna have, I think, a pretty awesome show this week. Maybe we should start off with weekend gaming. What did you guys do this week in the world of gaming? Maybe starting with you, Mark.
With me, I played Hearthstone more. There was a new Magic the Gathering set that came out, Dominaria, and I got my cards for that, and I put together a Blue-Red Wizards deck. I don't know if you guys understand. You listening, Lynn. I mean, he's my only Magic the Gathering compatriot that's in the Destiny community and the gaming
Yeah.
community, I think, for the most part. I don't think Lawn Boy's got any of the new cards yet. So I did that a little bit. But as far as gaming, video gaming, it's been all Hearthstone all the time. Trying to build a deck that can, win me a few games. I'm starting to get interested in the competitive part of it. Like you do kind of build that up. And I'm going to look into that this week. And I might actually start streaming Hearthstone this week because there's a new PvE content coming out for the Witchwood expansion. So that's about it for me, though. What about you, Gray?
Yeah, so I downloaded Hearthstone at the airport as I got back from our trip to Austin, and haven't fired it up yet. But based on our conversations during episode 32, I was definitely interested in checking out more. Mark and I, we got to play a little bit of Magic the Gathering as well, but I didn't get any of the new sets from Dominaria. I'll probably look at getting that here before too long. I installed God of War. I mean, God of War has just, I don't know. How can this game not live up to the hype? Everybody is talking about how fantastic this game is. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, mainly because I was traveling. So pre-ordered it. It came in on Friday. And then I've just been, very delicately watching the Twitter and the reviews to make sure I don't get any spoilers. But I am super excited to dive into this game. I was going to pick it up last night after I got home from work, but we had a little Bungie stream that I had to watch and catch up on and see what's going to be coming out. So outside of that, I didn't actually pick up too many video games, but on my short list, things I'm going to talk about here pretty soon, God of War, how that's going to be. I'll definitely be playing a little bit of Hearthstone. And then there's a few indie titles that I've got on my radar. So I'll be sharing some information about a game called 20XX. It's a Mega Man reinvention, a modern version of Mega Man. Fantastic game. We're going to do an interview with the developers here in a future episode. And then there's a couple other ones that are on my radar. So we'll be talking about those coming up next week.
I want another turn. I forgot something. I'll let you go first, though,
Okay, you're going to end cap it then. Sound good?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. I had a pretty good week. So I got to play 6v6 Iron Banner. And I'm so happy. It made me so happy. The only thing that made me unhappy was that it wasn't with you guys.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, we were traveling.
Yeah, I got to play. I played a bunch with Velvet, Lomboy, and Dakota. And then Remy got on and played a couple of rounds with us, and that was fun. And then after we ended with that, I ended up playing with Chris for a while and had a bunch of fun. We got off at like midnight, and then I go to work the next morning, and I didn't get to play anymore. But, man, I got to say, it felt like Destiny should feel like.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I didn't notice anything weird about the spawns, not more than anything would have happened in Destiny.
Right.
It was fast without being like frantic. It was good. I could go off by myself and flank and catch people by surprise, take a buddy with me, and we wouldn't totally just hose ourselves by not staying together and team shotting. It was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree. I got to play a little 6v6 before our trip, and I would agree. It felt really good. I played actually as a solo player. I didn't get to go in with a fire team and see what it was like to actually get to play with a full squad of your friends. But it just had a better balance of strategic chaos, right? You've got some coordination there with your team. If things kind of fall apart, it's tough to rally 6 cats into one scenario, one common goal. But just enough that it felt like if you're working together, it can play out pretty well. And then just being a little bit more chaotic was really fun. Pair that up with some of the changes that are coming with weapon balance. It's going to be a lot of fun. And what do we got?
I'm
1
so
week?
excited.
Like
no, 2 weeks.
2 weeks till it drops
Is
again.
it 2 weeks? Oh, is it next week?
I think it's just 1 week.
I thought you meant for the expansion.
No, for Iron Banner to come back around with 6v6, there was just a 2 week break between them. So we're looking at Iron Banner coming back, and this time Mark Square and Grey Ghost and Unalala will all be around and available to host an Iron Banner and Brew stream. So
are you
definitely follow
Do you have
our
Cinco de
Twitter.
Mayo off? So
Okay, definitely follow our Twitter at G&H Show, because we will be posting the promotional material for that Iron Banner and Brew stream. Trust me, it'll be unlike anything you've ever seen before.
it's so much fun. I can't wait.
What else you got? You know, what else did you play this week?
Hearthstone. So I've been trying to go through Hearthstone. I went through the arena for the first time in a while today, and I chose poorly is how that's going to go. So, like, I seriously went 0 for 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, ooh, I'm like, where are all these cards coming from? Like, I know these are, like, closed packs, and I'm like, man, maybe I need to expand from beyond mage or something and try something else. But I like my mage.
I think that's a tough thing, because basically you're picking across. You have to keep referring back to what you've already picked. There's no time limit, right? On how long?
No, I don't believe so. I didn't see anything.
Because I think that's the key. Like, I always get in a hurry and just kind of pick a bunch of stuff. And I always try to play aggro, so I'm just picking a bunch of low-costed stuff to try to, kind of catch somebody off guard.
Yep.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about. It's a really tough crowd. Like, a lot of the most competitive players play there, and it's a good place to play if you don't have a big collection, because everyone else is picking just the same way you were. Yeah. So that's a fun. So what I wanted to say was I played Destiny this week too. I got to hopped on and I played Nightfall with Grizzly Dave from over at Better Homes and Guardians and Connor. What was funny is
Connor was playing.
Oh, not it's different Connor. So Connor is somebody
not our Connor.
Well, he kind of is.
Well, not Kanye Connor.
he could be for a low price. No, that sounds awful. So Connor is somebody that we've hung out with at PAX before, right? And I didn't know what his gamer tag was, right? And so I hopped on to play with Grizzly Dave, and he was in there, and I was like, "Oh, hey, good to meet you." And he's like, "Oh, we already know each other." I'm like, "Oh, well, I mean, you watching my webcam channel? Is that what's happening?"
Yeah,
but no, we met at PAX. It's like, my name's. So once he said that, I knew exactly who he was, and we had a great time. And then Jelly jumped in too, and we had a lot of fun playing the Nightfall there.
Were you guys farming for it's the Sparrow this week, right?
I just did it once, but they, Jelly jumped in and they did, like, I think 3 or 4 more runs, and looking for that Sparrow. Yeah. But I mean, the thing that I like about the Nightfall now is you turn the modifier up and you get a burn on something, and then you kind of you match your loadout. Like we used an arc burn, and I was using the Uriel's Gift with arc, and then the Wardcliff coil. And Grizzly Dave, of all things, he was using the colony in PvE, which I've never seen before. But along with the tether, man, that thing was doing a lot of work with Orpheus rig and everything. So I was getting a lot of supers. Anyway, it was a blast.
Napoleon likes the colony in PvE though.
I'd never seen her play it in there. So
she's doing on the raid there.
Oh, okay. The last time that we played, Napoleon and I and a lot of the G&H producers, we've been doing the D1 raids again. So we haven't got back up to the raid in Destiny 2, but that'll be this week, I'm sure. So
this was your first time really hopping in and doing some more Nightfall since these changes, and I just have to give a little bit of kudos to Bungie for putting in the changes that they did, like changing the timing mechanism. Right, we don't have this timer that's counting up necessarily. We do have an issue with points not being earned once you exceed about the 18-minute mark. But the fact that they change that and they don't make you jump through a bunch of hoops or play these kind of not that interesting of mechanics in order to increase your time amount has made the Nightfalls much more enjoyable to play. They still can be difficult. You can actually scale that difficulty based on that handicap modifier. And then it's more rewarding, right? So here they took something that they got a lot of feedback from the player base. Nightfalls are broken. Nightfalls are not enjoyable. And I love it. Like, they didn't even try to fix it. They just changed it completely, right? The things that were broken in the Nightfall, they just got rid of. And they put in this new system. And I've been grinding Nightfalls. Mark, you haven't played Destiny in a long time, and here you're jumping in running Nightfalls. Good moves, right? It seems like, unfortunately, we're kind of telling the D1 story all over again, but at least they're making progress like they did in Destiny 1 to get to a game that the community can be proud of and actually want to play.
The difference is I played more during content gaps of Destiny 1 because the base gameplay was something I could get behind as far as weapon mods and, playing with certain weird loadouts, whereas Destiny 2 doesn't really support that. So that's why I haven't. I'll play right through a content drought. I don't care about that. It's the base part of the game just needs to be fixed. But September, they're adjusting weapon slots, and so that's exciting. So I'm definitely looking forward to September to see what happens with that. But yeah, so all right, let's move on then from our week in gaming to the ...
The news desk.
The news desk.
Yes, thank you, Jelly, for recording that soundbite for us.
All right, Yunalala, what do you got for us from the weird world of gaming?
Okay, well, in our first story this week, we learned that Epic Games may be very well pulling an epic prank on Fortnite players everywhere. So, in a story that published on Tuesday morning on the website Kotaku, it's pointed out that some data miners may have uncovered that the comet may not actually be aimed at the tilted towers. It may possibly be a new game mode instead, set to drop at the end of the season on April 30th. So that's interesting.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, my theory is, the Save the World mode that we've been playing is going free.
That's the PvE part.
Yes, that's the PvE, like the actual tower defense, what Fortnite was originally designed to be, until they, stole Battle Royale from PUBG.
Hey, that's not confirmed or denied, Mark Square. Give Epic Games a little bit credit.
Inflammatory. Yeah, I'm just starting inflammatory rumors. So, now I forgot my whole point. Right, so...
So the comet might be...
The comet, I think, when it hits, is actually going to be the announcement that the PvE content is free now, that anybody can play Save the World for free and not have to pay $40.
I think you're wrong.
At me, bro.
I think you're wrong. Yeah, at you on Twitter. I think what it actually is going to be is a second map for Battle Royale.
Ooh.
Yeah, but... In the thing that I loved here, and it took some programming, and they throw things into this game so quickly that it just blows my mind. They, I think it was yesterday, they put on one of the rooftops in Tilted Towers a bunch of animations which show, and just like items on a rooftop that are all conspiracy theorist type items, right? Yeah. Because like the whole fan base is going around being like, oh, what's this comic going to be? And blah, blah, blah. So they've got things like, they got a sign which is really trolling the April 18th people, which says like comet to fall today. And today is crossed out and they wrote tomorrow underneath it. Yeah. That's like such a great shout out to the Fortnite community. I love how Epic Games is handling this with their community.
Yeah.
It's a lot of back and forth. I have one more terrible theory.
Okay.
Do you remember? Do you remember how back in Destiny 1 there was some leaked things about future updates and expansions, and one of them was referred to as the Comet?
Comet, yes.
I do not remember this.
Okay, so this was before your time.
That was D1.
That was D1,
and so OG.
Yeah, and so what it came out to be was that in a lot of the development community, the word Comet just means big expansion, right? And so that's why they were calling it that. Everyone was like trying to figure out, what's this comet? I mean, we are in a space game, so what are we looking at here? Yeah. What's going to happen? And then they were like, no, calm down. Comet just means big expansion. Yeah, so that could be Epic. Dude, we've been talking about their personality, right? And the way that they're throwing all this stuff in there. I could see Epic actually making their comet, their big expansion, called in a literal comet up in the sky, because they seem to be funny guys.
Yeah, and that's why I think it is going to be a second map. PUBG is going to be releasing their third map, so they're making tweaks to the existing maps. I think that Fortnite, for longevity, is going to need to put in some different maps that certainly afford different play styles. PUBG right now, they have one map which is really long sight lines, really geared towards sniper rifles, distant range play. And Fortnite has aspects. There's certain parts of the map which certainly lend that way, but there's nothing that really like corners you and says that you do have to play a specific play style in order to be effective on this map. Now, PUBG's gotten a little bit of heat that people who don't like a particular map don't get a lot of choice in it. So I think that they're working on some options to make sure that you can can play the maps that you want to play. But Fortnite is the more popular game right now. I think that they're going to need to step up and get another map out there pretty quickly.
Yep, I agree.
Yep.
All right, what else we got from the news desk?
Well, in our next story, Witcher's lovers rejoice because there's more information about the Netflix adaptation of the popular series that is coming down the pipeline. So it was originally quoted for a 2018 release, but it appears that the timeline has been adjusted for 2020.
Ooh, that stinks.
Yeah. The first season is set to take place over 8 episodes, and filming is expected to primarily take place in Eastern Europe. There are no news on casting as of yet.
Oh.
Yeah, they literally said it will be ready when it's ready, and it will be good. They said those. It will be good. I'm
pretty much, yeah.
Man,
so this is The Witcher. They're going to make The Witcher into a Netflix series.
Yep, on Netflix.
I mean, if they put the production value into The Witcher that they did for Lost in Space right now, it's going to be fantastic. Cinematic experience that is well worth my $11 a month. It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, we're big Netflix perusers in our house, and honestly, like, I do want to play The Witcher 3, and I was actually even asking a friend yesterday if it would be okay if I played it without playing the other ones, and they said, yeah, totally fine, just watch a video. So I'm probably going to pick that up soon. Same thing for God of War. So I've never played any of the other God of Wars, but I'm probably going to pick that up.
They certainly change enough from what I've read that you certainly don't need to play through the series. Now, back to The Witcher. 2020 is probably, I mean, it's a little disappointing, but that'll probably give me enough time to beat The Witcher 3. That'll probably be as long as it takes for me to actually get in there and play it. But it's got such strong and attractive characters, and probably just enough pornographic scenes to make it a little interesting as far as how Netflix is going to handle this. They've released a lot of TVMA content. I wonder if they're going to try to dumb down some of the sexuality that's in The Witcher to reach a broader audience, or if they're just going to double down and say, hey, this is our Game of Thrones. This is going to be our adult-only series. And I mean, The Witcher has plenty of content which is really meant only for adults, that I could see them going that route of being like shock value. Did you see what Netflix came out with? They haven't done anything this raw before.
Yeah, I think they would try to do that. Just based on the way Game of Thrones is, I think that if they wanted to break into that market, I think that would be the right choice for them. Actually, it's just to like not pull any punches, and I think you attract a different market, but I think you attract more talent that way as well. I think the people making the series definitely don't want to be limited in what they can do.
Sure.
Yeah, it has to be done tastefully though. A lot of the stuff on Game of Thrones isn't, and I love Game of Thrones, but a lot of the stuff on Game of Thrones isn't in the books, and it's not done very tastefully.
True, but it is
I'm only up to
something
season 2.
that gave them enough buzz and popularity that it drew an audience. And obviously we got 2 years to wait and see, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that you feel very uncomfortable if your teenagers want to watch it sitting next to you.
Oh yeah. I mean, I expect that with that. I just don't know how far they're going to push the envelope on it.
Right.
Did I ever tell you about one of my first failed relationships as a teenage dating?
No.
Teenage person dating.
This is the right platform though to share the story for the first time.
Let's share.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Sharing is caring.
So I invited this girl to go see a movie, and we were both like into movies, but we didn't know each other super well, and we went to see Eyes Wide Shut. That was awkward. That was certainly awkward.
I can't even watch something like that with my husband.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But again, she plays those video games
like, I
by
watch
herself.
Him, like True Blood or Game of Thrones. He always walks in at the wrong moment. He's like, "What are you watching?" He's like, "So now I know what you're watching when I'm not here."
Yeah. So that was awkward. We never went on a second date.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
did not come up for coffee. Yeah.
Well,
all right,
the
Yuna.
second date I picked her up and I was wearing a masquerade mask, and then she did. No, I was kidding.
Yeah.
That'd be awful.
No, you're wearing a domino mask.
Yeah.
I think we do have time for one more. Do we have one more article from the news desk, Yuna?
I have one, but I didn't fully research it because I was told to stick it to 2.
That's all right.
we can
What do
go
we
on.
got? What is it?
Hold on. I have to pull it up. I don't have it up on my screen or anything. Do, 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 do,
Play some music here for Yuna while she pulls it up.
The News Desk.
Okay. So, no fancy professional intro for this one. This one is actually coming to us from IGN, and it's discussing games that are confirmed for E3 at E3 2018, which is in June. So it's about a month, a little bit over a month and a half away.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to get confirmations from games that are going to be shown, and we have a whole list of games that people are assuming are going to be there, but we're going to stick to the ones that are going to be shown for sure.
Okay.
And so on the lineup, confirmed for sure, is The Last of Us Part 2, which is that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm interested.
We haven't
to see
seen
that.
any gameplay yet. I don't think of Last of Us Part 2. That's gonna make some shockwaves, I think, when we see that.
Yeah.
They're gonna have Battle Royale.
No, they are not, Mark.
They're not. We have 8 million Joels. And then we have Anthem. So that's a big one. Yep, we're going to see Anthem.
And not only that, but
we don't know what state it's going to be in, but we're going to see Anthem.
BioWare has come out and said that the gameplay footage we will see at E3 is going to be the same gameplay quality that you will have in your homes. Because games have gotten themselves in a little bit of trouble, right? They show up to E3, they're running two 1080 Ti NVIDIA video cards on a demo system, showing great graphics. No Man's Sky, I'm looking at you. And then you get it in your own home. The Division, I'm looking at you. And it doesn't quite look the same. It's not nearly as polished as what was running on those demo units. So Anthem, BioWare, is getting ahead of this and said, no. Exactly what you see at E3 is the same quality of what you're going to have in your home, which also gives me a certain level of confidence on how far along they are in optimizing this game, right? If they're already to the point where they're in the optimization phase, that makes me think that we might see an earlier release date than December, or actually then, I shouldn't say December. They already pushed it back to 2019, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. The last statement they made, for one, there's just very little stuff out there. There's the one trailer, and that is literally it. They're not releasing anything. But the last statement they made is basically that they're taking a lesson from Destiny, and they don't want to starve their fans for content, which tells me that they're probably optimizing the main game, and then they're building an extra DLC before they even release the thing. I mean, that would track, right? Yeah, they would just rather wait.
Yeah, maybe hopefully it'll be an early 2019 release then. That's kind of my hope.
Yeah, me too.
So speaking of The Division, we're supposed to see The Division 2.
Yeah.
So that's on the list of slated games we're supposed to see. So I'm actually interested in that. I played The Division when it came out early on, and then I got discouraged going into the Dark Zone, and I never went back because I feel like I'm too far behind now. But I did enjoy the original core gameplay of it. So I am interested in seeing what The Division 2 has to offer and jumping in on that when that comes out.
Yeah, well, they've changed a lot about the Dark Zone.
Yeah.
They had a little bit of a Destiny 1 experience as well as a developer.
Yeah,
they released a game. It was good. I really liked the original game as well, but it did not meet expectations based on what they had advertised prior to it being released. Now, fast forward, they've released some fantastic expansions. They've really expanded out the gameplay. It is a well-rounded game, just like Destiny 1 was. Like, you could go and you could be proud of it. It can support a community. People can rally behind this game. Right. Now, are they going to have the same sophomore slump that Destiny 2 had? Or are they going to learn from that and release a more complete product, certainly with a stronger end game? My hope is that everybody in the industry learns from what Bungie did here, what some of their mistakes were, and it makes them work a little bit harder, or at least be more aware that this kind of thing could happen, and it could really hurt your franchise. It can really hurt your franchise.
Yep. No, definitely. Yep. Yeah, so interested in seeing that. Also on the slate, we have the Battlefield 2018 title, whose official title is still to be announced.
Yeah.
So Don't
TBA
know
sounds
much
like a
about
great
that.
game.
Yeah, it's TBA.
Yeah, and that's the one actually that I do expect to see a battle royale mode demoed. I would not be surprised if the to be determined, to be named Battlefield game, if what they show is a first-person battle royale mode.
I actually heard a rumor that Last of Us is going to be called 100 of Us, and then it's going to be a battle royale mode.
and then
Did you hear Hearthstone? Hearthstone's coming out with a battle royale mode, Mark. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
100 players, you only get one card.
Okay, and next up on the list, speaking of battle royales, Fortnite.
Yeah.
Fortnite's on the list. You see some stuff with Fortnite. So curious to see about that. I mean, I wonder if they're going to show, upcoming content on everything. And then we get Roller Coaster Tycoon for the Switch.
Wait. Before we go there, what I'm hoping Fortnite actually goes to present and launch are basically two things which are tied together. I hope they launch some type of private server / private game mode that's scalable from a size perspective. Like, okay, you can have 20 players, right? You can have 40, 100, like however many it is. And then they're going to announce some sort of partnership, some sort of launch into esports. I think is what would be advisable for them to do, is to say, we have partnered with MLG and we are going to be a top featured esports. We're launching a tournament. The prize is going to be $5 million for our first tournament. Something like that. Pairing that with private servers / private game mode, something that is scalable and something that you can tie directly with, with who you want to be playing in a given match. I could see that being part of their E3 presentation. Otherwise, I'm not so sure what else they have. I mean, they can't come out and be like, oh, we released a whole new PvE content. Nobody's going to care. It's got to be something tied to esports and battle royale.
Yeah. I would be surprised if it wasn't, to be totally honest, thinking about it.
Yeah, could you imagine if Ben Lupo makes a private match and it's an invitational and it's only top Fortnite players? What kind of a match would that be? Could you imagine?
I would tune in. Yeah, the top 100 players. I would definitely watch that
all day.
Yep.
I would watch
Me
that.
Too.
Oh, it'd be amazing. Be an event. Yeah.
Yes, it would be. Get some Drake up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Roller Coaster Tycoon for the Switch. I'm not a big fan. I'm sure it has its niche. Otherwise, it wouldn't be coming out for the Switch. What do you guys think?
Move on. Move
on. Okay. Next one, I've never heard of this game before, but apparently it's popular enough to have 4 iterations of it. Serious Sam 4, Planet Badass.
Those are old games. Yeah.
Planet Badass.
Silly
I think
games.
Planet Badass is actually based off of Uranus.
Yeah.
It's a gaseous planet.
Yeah, I'll be curious because the Serious Sam series has always been a little bit on the silly side, but yeah, they did announce that they're coming out with a new game, and it's been a while since they've come out with the game, so we'll see. But it's lower. Did Death Stranding make the list? Do we know if they're going to be showing anything?
It's showing up as that's on the rumored list, so it's not confirmed yet. So so that hasn't been confirmed yet. There's one more confirmed, and this one I'm actually pretty psyched for because I can't wait to introduce my daughter to it. And it's Super Smash Brothers for the Switch.
Yes. That'll be really good. Speaking of esports, fun. Super Smash Brothers is one of the most popular esport titles. I think that on the Switch is probably a pretty good way to play it. Even more so if they can set up some kind of local
like a LAN
PvP type environment, that if somebody's on your same network,
your Wi-Fi,
that it's much easier to tie in, or even not on your network, right? To say that, hey, we're gonna play some matches of Super Smash Brothers, through a co-op type deal.
They did release a Wi-Fi adapter, so you can actually plug in your Switch to Ethernet now, which
really?
will really
so Ethernet adapter.
Ethernet.
Ethernet. Saladin.
Yeah.
Paladin.
Varkas. Yeah.
Add it to the list.
Right.
Ethernet.
And please don't tell me you call it the Wi-Fi's.
Because
it's Wi-Fi.
Yes. I refuse to pay for Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Right. Well, perfect. we are about, we got about 25 minutes left till we're going to be at the hour, which is a perfect time to move into our next and likely final segment of the show. Jelly, what do we got?
The buzz.
Groovy. Thank you, Jelly, for those new bumpers. I really appreciate that. And this is a new segment that Nate and I cooked up when we were on a trip in Austin. At MotoGP, relaxing on the lawn and talking about new ways for grenades and horseshoes to be even better. And this is going to be a segment that is all about what we are excited about in gaming coming up. And it can be soon, far, and I'm going to detail a few things here that I'll talk about in more detail later. But number one on the list is Hearthstone Monster Hunt is coming up for the Witchwood expansion. It's coming out tomorrow, actually. So it's the PvE content for Hearthstone. And if you played the Dungeon Run that came out in the Kobolds and Catacombs expansion, you'll recognize the same kind of format. You're fighting against bosses that have very unique hero powers. Some of them are super overpowered, but you've got all new encounters. There's 40 different encounters, and there's new actual monster hunters that are included in this expansion too. So they layer over some of your existing heroes, but your hero power changes. Okay. So your card pool is the same, but your hero power changes, and you get some super OP stuff. There's one of them that actually shoots a cannon, and the cannon damages what it hits and what's adjacent to it. So you can line up some like really, really powerful shots with that combined with some of the cards. Really, really neat stuff. One thing that people are doing, and I want us to do this, is they're doing dungeon races. So they'll all start at the same time and race, up to whatever boss you can get through in a limited amount of time. And there's usually like it would be a drinking game. Like every time I complete a boss or any of us complete a boss, the other two have to take a drink.
Oh,
so.
Yeah. And then you wait, right? You wait to like level set for the next round. I like that.
Yeah. So, no. So everybody's going, and you can see each other's screens, right? So you just know when I complete one, you've got a drink, and then you continue to try to complete it. And as soon as you're done, I have to drink too.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, it just kind of builds up and up.
I think,
eventually
we could get this stream going on. I know Mark and I were working a little earlier today on setting up his rig to stream some Hearthstone. I think I'd jump into that. I haven't done any of the PvE content. I really am excited to jump into it, but man, how come Blizzard doesn't establish some kind of offline mode for Hearthstone? As I was on my flight from Denver back to Moline, Illinois, I wanted to play Hearthstone on the plane, but unless you're connected to the internet, you can't even play the PvE stuff.
I can answer that.
What's going on, Yuna?
It's for cheating. Blizzard is so into making sure people aren't going to cheat, because it's a huge problem with World of Warcraft. I mean, you take something offline like that, people are going to be able to manipulate the files and give themselves really powerful cards that they didn't actually earn.
Yeah, she's right, because
everything's got to be server-side to control it.
Why can't I do that?
It's against your user terms and conditions, Gray.
I didn't read it. I just hit I agree.
It's the biggest lie anyone ever says is I agree to the terms and conditions.
Yeah,
Mark, when you were saying that there was this monster hunt thing, for some reason I thought this was a tie-in, a connection between Hearthstone and Monster Hunter. Like you had been mentioning this for like the past week, and for the whole time I thought that this was some sort of collaboration between Blizzard and Monster Hunter, and now we're gonna have some crazy thing. But it's not.
So Monster
it's not like that
got
at all.
Some wacky ones. I saw a Mega Man cat the other day. I'm like, this looks like broken. This does not look like it. Like he looks.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like I thought it was something like that.
You can even dress up like Ryu, and punch the dinosaur.
Yeah. They don't mind about that, which I think is cool. Like you can't take yourself too seriously. I mean, think about all the Fortnite costumes. They're ridiculous.
Yeah,
for sure. And people are buying them. Even the play on iOS. So that's tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Eastern. And I will probably, if I can, figure out the stream setup, which I think Gray's got me all set up, I'll stream that, right at 1, if at all possible. I'll jump on as soon as it goes live and be streaming it on my channel here. And then I think it'll go out to our YouTube as well. So, and our Mixer and all that stuff. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
My
Oh,
ankle's
thanks.
busted anyway, so I'll be
Yeah.
home.
Oh,
Awesome.
man.
But I'll be
Well, maybe
watching.
we can play some matches then, too.
Yes.
UVI for the stream. Yeah,
Yeah,
Chris pointed out my shirt.
we're still one on one. So
Yeah, we've got
so
a
you won
tiebreaker.
one, I won one. So
Yeah.
and you have better cards than me.
All right. What else we got
I'm
from the
much worse.
buzz? What else is getting us all hyped up
Okay.
on G&H?
So the next thing I'd like to talk about, and I'm just going to mention this game briefly, but it's called Biomutant, and it's lined up for a 2018 release, and it's by THQ Nordic.
Okay.
And basically, it's a customizable cat brawler. So you're...
You're like,
I might not be
I could
Okay.
say something, but I can't because then it just sounds way worse.
I'm
God.
trying to think at where in this whole pitch you lost me. It might have been just the
No,
title
I'm
of the
all in.
game.
It's a
What
cat
is the
fight.
title of the game
Let's go.
again?
Okay, so it's Biomutant, and it will make
Yeah,
sense.
that's where
when
you lost me. Biomutant Cat Brawler THQ Nordic. Didn't THQ go out of business? I guess not.
So no, listen though, it's cool. Trust me, kids.
Yeah. All right,
Let me-
sell
Trust
this
me,
game to
kid.
me, Mr.
Let
Square.
me wrap.
You want to play the cat fights?
So okay, it's cell shaded. It looks beautiful. You can
Okay.
find gameplay footage of it right now on YouTube if you go on there. You can get into vehicles. You can and you can customize your character. He mutates and gets new abilities as you play through the game. You can craft weapons, melee. It's like a combination between it's third person, melee, and then guns. So like you kind of automatically shoot at whatever you're targeted in on, and you're kind of like jumping around. One of the moves that like kind of interested me the most, like you're like fighting with this sword, and the enemy goes to swing at you, and you counter it by cutting this cricket bat in half. Yeah, Yuna is sending us dirty texts.
I definitely can't say it on air.
Yeah.
So they'll give us. They'll
I
take
think
us off
that
of T for
it
T.
sounds a lot like what Mark is describing. It's
Yeah.
a game about
So
pussy fights.
anyway, I will describe this cat brawler, as I call it, or pussy fighter, which you are referring to it as, at a later date. I'll get more info together, and as things develop, keep you guys
How did
posted.
you hear about this game?
Just
What
through
dredges
YouTube.
of the internet are you surfing? Did you Google? Oh, I know what you Googled. What did you call it, Yuna?
Mark-
Mark
my
is
internet.
super furry.
Yeah.
Is it adorable though? Please tell me it's
It's-
adorable.
It's kind of post-apocalyptic adorable. Like if you go to IGN's YouTube, they have like a full 30-minute gameplay of it that they did
Okay.
at. I mean, it's been on the books since PAX of 2017, like PAX West.
Okay.
So I mean, it's a lot of people are looking at it. It's not just me. I mean, internet history is gross too. All right, so coming up soon, Biomutant news here on Grenades and Horseshoes, which I will be made fun of for, but I will continue to bring you that news, guys. I will take that
Yes.
heat to bring you the news. Okay, so then also I would like to talk a little bit about there's a D2 expansion coming up on May 8th.
Ooh.
Called the Warmind, and we just saw a stream for it this week, and it outlined a game type called Escalation Protocol, and basically it's a horde mode. I'm excited about it. 7 rounds, 5 final bosses that rotate weekly. So 1 week you'll have 1 final boss, and so on until it get back to the beginning again. There's loot that helps and is specific to that activity. You can only get it in Escalation Protocol. This is the point that I want a little bit of an opinion on from you guys, specifically about Escalation Protocol. It happens in the patrol area for the new planet, which will be in this expansion, Mars, going back to Mars. Randos can come in and just start helping them, or you can help other people.
Yeah.
Now, I love that idea, right? I loved in the Vault of Glass, when people were opening the Vault of Glass, you could come by and help them. Just hold down a plate, do whatever you needed to help those people. I loved that. The thing that also brings to mind, though, is the Court of Oryx. And if you recall, that one, there was a specific boss, we called him Mini Crota. I'm sure he had a name, poor fella. He's like short version of Crota is the only thing anybody thinks of him as. But if the wrong person picked up that relic, I guess everyone knows. The way the Crota fight works is you down Crota, and then somebody has to run up with specific timing and hit him with a sword. It's the only damage he ever takes. Right. So there was a mini encounter of that for Court of Oryx, and to be honest, I loved it, but most people didn't. There was a lot of people that really hated that random people could show up in your encounter and just completely mess it up. Right. So I can't imagine that Bungie didn't listen to that and change their mechanics based on it, but I hope that they didn't change it so much that it kind of, there's not enough interest in the mechanics. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, I think that they did learn, because you saw that we actually had even an additional public space cooperative event with Wrath of the Machine with Archon's Forge. And Archon's Forge did not have a mechanic where there was one specific relic, let's say, that had to be used in order to complete a specific part of Archon's Forge. You would get the axes, right? And there would be 3 to 6 of them. Well, I think typically 3 of them. But it wasn't ever limited to one person. So I think they did learn from a little bit. But honestly, I don't know that I heard that much backlash about the Crota sword. Mainly because, in general, people don't just want to screw around and troll other people trying to complete in the Court of Oryx. Sorry, I misspoke. Right. But even if they are trying to, you can fight for that relic, right? Like, who's going to down the sword bearer first? Who can pick it up? Right. Now, I think that it is probably a bad idea for them to have such a specific relic to complete a specific encounter. And we did see one. We did see one in some of the gameplay footage.
Yep.
Well, and they said that spear,
there was
but
a couple. There was 2.
Yeah, but
I'm referring to the spear.
To the spear? Okay.
Yeah, they said it just did a lot of damage really quick. You didn't have to have it. Like, it would help you out with right. ammo and stuff like that, and key moments. It would be really nice to have, but you didn't have to. And you're right. The way that the Archon's Forge worked, you could make it without those axes. Without even when your light level was low. Chris brings out in the chat the difficulty of it. You will need to know what's going on or you'll get slaughtered. So they could adjust it that way, right? Like, if someone comes up, it's nothing but good news. You're like, whew, man, we are dying here. Like, there's so many ads and there's so many strong ads. Thank goodness someone showed up. It could be that way as well. So I'm really hopeful. Horde mode is my favorite thing ever. Right. And I'm starved for Horde mode right now. Yep. So.
Yeah, so I think it looks really great. It does. It looks like so much fun when they did that. And I know they only went through a couple of rounds. And even then, that took a significant amount of time of the stream. So it wasn't something that was like blink and it's done. My only concern is that I want to see how they handle populating that area with Guardians. Because they did have a problem with the Court of Oryx. And they did have a problem with Archon's Forge with populating that area full of randos. Right. I can't even tell you how many times I ran in and out of an area and like learned to slow walk as I'm zoning in to try to populate into something with someone else if I wasn't on a fire team. So I'm interested to see if they fixed the algorithms for that. If they have, fantastic. That's all I'm looking for. But that's literally my only concern about that particular mode there.
Do you think there'll be 6-player patrol in this? To where you can launch in with 6 people, or it's still going to be 3? I bet it's going to be 3.
I don't know.
It's going to be 3.
When they showed on stream, there was only 3 people in green, and then there was like 2 or 3 that were blue, that were
right.
That were.
They would have announced that. That's kind of a big deal. Like if they'd made that happen.
A couple things though with this escalation protocol specifically. It was designed to be endgame content difficult, not something that you should expect to complete week 1 of the Warmind DLC launching. Fantastic. I'm happy for that. It takes me back to Skolas a little bit, right? Here's something that we can grind for and try to complete as we work to max light. Pair that up with the news we got from Bungie a few weeks ago. The road to max light is going to be much longer than what we've seen with Destiny 2. Probably, my hope, even more than what we saw with the late end game of Destiny 1. I thought that end game, post Taken King, I thought the road to max light was pretty easy, with all of the, April updates, and then anytime they bumped up the light, there was just too many ways to be able to get to max light that you did it too quickly. Well, they're saying that they want to make this grind a true grind to max light, which also means this escalation protocol is going to be something that we're going to be fighting at for probably weeks before we get some of those first bosses down. And since we're going to have escalation protocol specific armor and weapons that drop from specific bosses, this is going to keep us going back into it every week to experience. And it looked fun enough that I think it is something I'm going to want to do every week.
So what do you think the mechanics are for failure, right? So like what would prevent you from just respawning over and over and over? Is there a limited number of lives?
I bet it's time based. If you don't progress past a phase after a certain amount of time, the event ends. I'm willing to bet that's what it is.
Yeah,
that would make the most sense.
I think it is too. You only have, you're going to activate this spire, right, which is going to draw the hive into that area of the public space. And then if you're not able to spawn the major or whoever the boss is after each round and down them, then it's going to probably reset, right? You did not complete that round. And I bet the spire only stays active for so long.
Right, and then you got to start over if you fail so many times, or even fail once, maybe. I wonder if it just sets you back a round. Remember, Prison of Elders, you just had to redo the round.
Yeah, I think it'll end it because it's in a public space. I think it just ends. I would be surprised if it did anything but that.
Yeah, you're right, because
Yeah. We'll see. There's actually probably betas out there. I didn't get a chance to watch Mesa Sean's footage or anything like that, but there probably is some information. I'm trying to stay a little bit outside of that exposure as much as I can to hop in a little bit clean. But they made it hard, and because of the feedback from the community summit, Chris is telling us, it has to end. That they're even making some tweaks to make it even harder than they were planning before it deployed. So that's exciting. I'm glad that we're going to get some true end game content.
And we haven't even seen anything about the raid lair yet. Although I do have to say, this better not be a replacement for the raid lair, or people are going to revolt.
They already said that. They said that there was going to be a raid lair as well.
Good. Yeah.
In addition to the raid lair. Yep.
Okay.
Because you're right.
Tonight.
What else did we get excited about in that Bungie stream? I got a few things on my list.
I got excited about the guns.
The guns?
All right.
Yeah, the exotic gun retooling. Like even they, perked up my Crimson, and the Graviton Lance looks great. Everything looks awesome. I cannot wait to play with my guns.
Sturm and Drang. That's the one. Yeah. Like even in PvP, that looks amazing. Yeah,
two taps with
the mechanic
Drang.
Of it.
Yeah.
I don't really care how strong it is exactly. I just like any gun that turns into a mini game where you're playing specifically to please that specific gun. I think is fun.
When Destiny 2 launched, that was my PvP loadout. It was Sturm and Drang, and I loved using it. Seeing those buffs, getting that Drang up to a 2-tap is going to be really, really cool to see. It's going to make me want to practice that mechanic a lot. But besides, even that, right? Like the exotics, hopefully the way that the weapon designers are talking about this gets me excited. They're excited. They've been having more fun in the game with these adjustments to the exotics. But I got a quote here that happened on stream that when I heard this was the one statement that gave me confidence that Bungie is going to point this in the right direction. Yep. Pulling it up here. John Wisniewski, right? The lead here. He said when they were working on Graviton Forfeit, there was a simultaneous buff that happened to the weapon that they were not necessarily anticipating. Pulse rifles in general got a buff, and then they were already making these tweaks that when they overlapped, they were like, oh my gosh, this is not our intended outcome. This gun is just destroying in the Crucible. And they looked around and they're like, what do we do? Do we nerf it? Do we take away our changes because of the general pulse rifle changes? And his quote was, screw it, plays great, people love it, we're just going to keep it. And
bring everything else up.
What's that?
Bring everything else up.
Well, either that, but just the whole idea, right? Like, I feel like they went into Destiny 2 with, okay, we need to make sure nothing is OP, that we design this around hopefully jumping into an esports space and everything is viable at an equal playing field. And that's boring.
It just made it boring.
It's boring for players. Yeah. It's not exciting. It's not nearly as fun. And they're playing this and they're going, we're having some fun. This is crazy how fun this gun is. It's against our philosophy of how we launched Destiny 2. What do?
Mm-hmm.
Change
your philosophy. So is the community, though. The community is against your philosophy.
Well, exactly.
Change it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you change your philosophy. And the fact that he said that, screw it, plays great, people love it, we're just going to keep it. I'm hoping that we start to see these guns pop up that's like, oh man, this feels like it should not work in the game. This should not be here. It is so dominant. It just wrecks in Crucible. Mm-hmm. That's going to make me want to go in there and play Crucible.
Right.
Oh, big time. What did they say about the Crimson, right? He was saying basically, look, you can be sloppy with this and still be competitive against really high level or aggressive hand cannons, which means imagine if you put on some like kinetic, some of the kinetic recoil stuff on your armor.
I'm telling you, it's pretty stable
already. Yeah, I mean, like it's gonna, if you can get all 3 shots on the head. They did say that it would take. They made sure even if you hit every shot in the head, it took 1 from that final burst to kill them. Yep. But imagine if they're weak already. Like how like just a little bit weak, is that enough? You know what I mean? Because everyone's traveling in a pack.
Right.
I'm just salivating about how much it's gonna shred in PvE, because that's my go-to PvE gun. That's what I use in the raid and like everything. Like headshot, headshot, headshot. I almost never have to reload that thing. And now I have a bigger magazine. Bring it on. Like, I'm so excited for that.
But we will not be able to use anything except Rat King, though, just so you guys know. I mean, it's the only gun we're allowed to use.
Yeah.
No.
You know, they didn't even talk about Rat King on the stream, but they did release the video, which just looks ridiculous of Rat King really switching it to full auto. I'm sure as they were doing that, as they were coding it and then playtesting it, they were thinking, we were dumb to not make this full auto from the get-go. Like, what were we thinking, that people could pull the trigger actually fast enough to proc it? No, it doesn't work that way. And watching a fire team with those Rat Kings, it's crazy. It looks like, it fits the mold of the lore. It's like 1,000 rats devouring the Cabal is what it looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Another thing that I'm excited about is I've got somebody that gives Petrovenge a run for her money, as far as taking a special place in my heart.
Jed's referring to her as Anna Bay, isn't he?
Anna Bay.
Anna Bay.
Anna Bay.
Yeah. Anna Bray, badass, some sort of
she's a hunter.
Ancestry pedigree of Clovis Bray. She's got crazy eyes, these bionic eyes. Eyes. Yeah. And what do you guys think of our new character that's coming out for Warmind?
I'm excited. She seems like I definitely have a lady crush on her. She's right up my alley. She's a hunter. She seems totally badass. Well, like my friend type. Not that type. Not like you guys looking at lady type. But like, you're like, man, I want to be your friend.
I have nothing but honorable intentions for Anna Bray.
That's what you say.
Her cloak reminds me of one of my favorite cloaks from D1 as well. Like, I don't know if they did that on purpose, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah. But we're getting another, strong female lead. It's going to be of a younger generation. I'm curious to see how they flesh out this character. Is this going to be something that, is it going to be kind of like Hawthorne, where they have a place in the tower at the end as a vendor? How I'm more curious about, obviously she's going to have a role through the campaign of Warmind, the DLC campaign, but I kind of wonder what happens longevity with this character, or is it going to be like the travel or the stranger who
she's already got a room in the tower.
Does she?
Oh yeah, that's the hidden room there. The one that we sneak into.
Room?
Oh, they announced that that's her place?
No, but it has Clovis Bray stuff all over it.
Oh.
And stuff we can't interact with yet.
Yeah.
That we can try to, but it won't load anything.
Oh, I thought you meant the stranger had one. I just wanted to reveal exclusive here on Grenades and Horseshoes that actually Anna Bray is the stranger. The stranger is Anna Bray from the future.
Oh, could you imagine if they did that? Oh man, they can't. That was an EXO.
What
are you doing?
No.
You're trolling us.
No, I would actually be mad. about that. You can't, no. You can't just, like, jip us a story and smush it into another story.
Chip you a story. Didn't you listen to Luke Smith? The Stranger's story is complete.
I don't care what Luke Smith says about that. It's not true. He
It's not true in your heart.
lies.
And then we've got this, got our first exposure of the DLC itself. We've got Frozen Hive, right? Some crazy frozen hive under ice. We've got this new technology. We're going to learn about Rasputin. How can Rasputin be in old Russia and also be on Mars? How does this thing work? It's his birthplace. And then, in the trailer, they say that there's something even worse than what Rasputin was or what created Rasputin beneath. And we saw a little bit of clips that showed a massive hive creature that almost looks like it's from Dark Souls, that it looks like we get to fight. And that seems pretty fun.
Well, when we think about it, when I look at that, because I went through and I watched that intro a bunch of times because I love CG stuff. When you see the profile that comes up, if you looked at the preview trailer that came out, there was a big beast going, kind of undulating through the sands and everything, way off on the horizon in the very first frame of it.
Right.
So it, like, looking at those, it looks the same. I could talk more, but I don't want to, like, do spoilers if I'm right, that type of thing.
Oh, like I did with the stranger being on the break?
No, but that's not true.
Is part
this,
of
at least, I have, like, some, like, proof.
But what if you're right? Yeah. Then later on you look back and be like, I said, and it was right.
I know, but, like, I don't want to spoil it. Oh, what do you guys think? Should I say keep talking or no?
Yeah, go for it.
Because now I'm going into
going to happen? We have no inside track. We don't have anybody feeding us lines.
So, I mean, just from gleaning some of the stuff off of Twitter from the people that actually went to the summit and had stuff, because I didn't watch everyone's videos. I'm actually trying to stay away from it so I don't spoil myself too much. But do you remember in what's it called? The Taken King's raid.
Bananas. Oh no, not bananas.
Yes, I remember.
No, not the banana wall. Not the banana wall. Thrust banana wall. But right before we go in to see Oryx, you know how we have the 3 scannable statues. And one is Oryx, one is Crota, and the other one is Nocris. Do you guys remember that?
Yep.
So apparently, no?
I didn't scan things. Remember, I was avoiding Grimoire.
Yeah, you're talking story to Mark Square. That's where you were first from.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Anyways, apparently you were supposed to be seeing Nocris in this expansion, and from what people are saying, it's actually Oryx's other son.
Oh, okay.
And he's a herald of one of the
one
great
that was
war.
in Final Fantasy 15?
No, not Noctis.
There was a Noctis?
Noctis. That's Noctis. I'm talking Nocris.
Oh,
Nocris.
Well,
no woman.
They could have done a
Nocris.
little better, I think, with the names. It was a little better.
This is the Crota's redheaded stepchild, actually.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing, is we don't know anything about him because the statue's been, like, obliterated, like, out of anger.
Oh,
yeah,
so
I hope it's not him, because I feel like any spawn of Crota deserves to be a final raid boss. And
No, not Crota. Well, Oryx.
Or I'm sorry, of Oryx, right?
Yeah, but I also
Oryx is
agree,
the mom's
and the
slash
rumor
dad.
is that he's going to be in the strike, and I'm like, that's stupid.
Yeah. Well, maybe
Like,
you don't
I
actually kill
sincerely
him.
hope that that's not true.
Maybe it's not something we kill. Maybe it's just an introduction.
Okay,
Yeah,
if it's
like
an
they did
introduction, I'll
Oryx.
take that.
Yeah, like they introduced Oryx in the the story and everything, and then the shade of Oryx and all that stuff, and then you had to fight him in the raid
Right.
too.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember when we killed Gaul in the story or whatever, and then we were like, oh, there was a lot of lead up to that.
Yeah,
Gaul.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he got all big and oozy, and and then he just exploded, and we're like, oh,
Mm.
so what's the raid about?
What's the raid about? Exactly.
Did he die?
Yeah.
Why are we going? What's the point of the raid?
Did we just knock ourselves out of the raid? We just
Yeah.
the final boss?
Well, yeah, because like I thought it was like like the final raid boss is his like no. Okay. Anyways, I'm done.
Yeah, and
I'm done
I
babbling.
don't actually mind how they tied in, the fact that he was like, a rebel, and he was gonna basically be a threat to the emperor, and so Callus is coming back basically to thank us and has us go through this trial on the Leviathan ship. That's actually all fine how they tied it together, but coming from past raid experiences, right, where the whole campaign is leading up to where the raid boss is really the final end game. Like you killed whoever the antagonist was through that story. You know, that's who it was, and that was a little bit of a departure. You know, Bungie made a number of departures, obviously, with Destiny 2, and now we're seeing them come back and bring in some things which make the game fun, get us hyped up about it, which is why they were on our final segment here of the show called
The Buzz.
The buzz.
All right, I think that we have moved on to our last lives, where we give our shout outs for the week, and we will start off with Yuna.
Okay, actually, let me make sure. Mark, go first, because I want to make sure I got this guy's name right. Okay?
Okay.
Can I pass it off to you first?
Yep.
I'm going to use my shout out this week for my buddy Nate. Went on this motorcycle trip with me. You might know him as Grey Ghost 2E. Boom. Had a great time. Hung out. It's the first trip we've been on in a while where one or the other of us wasn't deathly ill, which was awesome. You know, we made ourselves ill through excessive cerveza drinking, but you know, we got over that pretty quick. It was really great. A lot of good food, a lot of fun times. Hung out with a lot of motorcycle builders. Actually, mostly Nate and I hung out with motorcycle builders' girlfriends because we didn't know about building motorcycles, and they appreciated that we talked about other things and wore pastels. So, shout out to Grey Ghost.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
and your sunburns.
I wore sunscreen in my feet. I was wearing Chacos. They still look like Aztec, like all these triangular shapes
you got
on them.
some toasty toes.
But he wouldn't wear it at all, so he got pretty.
And he's the medical professional. You know better.
Yes,
no,
I know.
When I asked him about sunscreen, he like hit himself and he was like, "No, I don't wear sunscreen."
You guys better be prepared, because in Florida, I'm gonna like mom the hell out of you guys.
I
to
will
be
wear
like,
sunscreen.
here's
That's
your
why I'm wearing a
baby
hat on
SPF.
stream, guys.
Here's
Is
your
actually
baby
my forehead's
SPF.
still pretty.
Show
pretty
us
bad
the
in it.
head. Show us the head.
Oh my god.
The sunburned head.
Phrasing.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right, Yuna, what do you got for your last life?
So my count out, my last life goes to shouting out Mike Fahey. He's a writer for Kotaku, and he does things like Snack Taku, where he'll like review like crazy snacks, and he reviews games, and his articles are usually generally really just entertaining. He seems like a fun guy. He hasn't been writing for the last couple of weeks, and I just thought he was on vacation. But they actually came out with an article today that he has having some major health stuff, like he
had an aortic dissection.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
So he's been like, he like can't even talk right now, but he's healing.
Awesome.
So like, shout out goes to him and his family. He's got 2 young kids and a wife that are dealing with this, and it was very sudden. So I want to say thank you to him for all of his writing, and my well wishes to feel better.
Yep, and you know, he's extremely lucky. An aortic dissection, usually, if you don't get treatment in a matter of you know, minutes to hours, depending on how big of a dissection it is, it'll take your life pretty quickly, and it's going to be a long road to recovery. But with the right treatment, which they were able to get to him quickly, you know, he should be able to recover over time, and we're glad that that he's at least on that road to recovery, and that the emergent danger has since passed. So I certainly read a lot of his articles, been following him for a while, so we do certainly wish him well. All right. My last life is going to go out to our G&H leaderboard. Throughout the week on our Twitter at G&H Show, we will post various questions, quizzes, things like that. And if you answer them correctly, you get a shout out on the show. So for our G&H Name That Game, we take classic box art or screenshots from old games, and we see who can actually find out what the game's name is, who it is. And so our winners for this week include Grugrex43, 2 weeks in a row. My Lucky Clover, that's your first time onto the leaderboard. Little Light, 2 weeks in a row on the leaderboard. Ace, I think that Ace, the guy, designed our fantastic logo. That's your first time on the leaderboard. And he got 2 wins this week, actually. He got Ghost and Goblins and one of our other posts. If you would like a shout out on the show as part of our G&H leaderboard, follow us on Twitter. We tweet throughout the day. We have a lot of fun things on there, different facts, words of the day that are video game related, and then our little contests. So definitely check that out. And maybe next week, if you answer correctly, you'll get a shout out on the show. That is going to wrap up episode 33 of Grenades and Horseshoes. Thank you everybody in our chat who came to hang out with us. I'm gonna load that up to read off to you guys. Chris, electric longboard, electric skateboard. Is there any relation? Krez Rock, Slow Cool, Planet Destiny was in there a little bit earlier. We appreciate your support. We hope you had a good time. We had a good time. And Jelly, take us out.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you can't catch the live show, then you can find the replays on the Grenades and Horseshoes YouTube channel. If you'd like to stay connected to the community during the week, you can reach us at our show Twitter handle, @G&H Show, or at our individual handles, @MarkSquare_, @GreyGhost2E, and @Yuna. We're also open to any ideas you may have or seeing any clips that you would like to send in. Please send the feedback to gnhfeedback@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.